You have been pouring money into ad creative, split testing headlines, tweaking thumbnails, and obsessing over click through rates. And the whole time, the real reason your leads are not converting has nothing to do with any of it. It happens in the 10 minutes after they raise their hand. And most businesses have absolutely nothing waiting for them when they do. Growing up in New York, you learn fast that the first impression is not about how you look, it's about whether you show up. My people worked inside systems their whole lives that did not show up for them. Systems that were slow, indifferent, and designed by someone else's convenience. I took that frustration and turned it into a career. As a clinical analyst inside major hospital system, my entire job was to study what happened between the moment a patient arrived and the moment an outcome was determined. And the data always was the same. The facilities with the fastest, most deliberate intake process had dramatically better outcomes across every single metric: clinical, financial, and operational. The ones that made people wait, made people repeat themselves, made people feel they were invisible after they walked through the door, those were the ones bleeding money, losing trust, and wondering why their numbers never improved. The intake window was everything, and your business has one too. Picture this. A lead comes in at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Before you even know they exist, your system has already responded. They got a message that felt personal, timely, and intelligent. They got a follow up that answered the question they had not asked yet. They got a sequence that moved them from curious to convinced while you were asleep. By the time you sit down Wednesday morning, that lead is warm, informed, and ready to have a real conversation. You did not chase them. You did not lose them to a competitor who responded faster. Your system did what a world-class intake team does and made them feel like they came to the right place the moment they arrived. That is not a fantasy, that is infrastructure, and it is available to you right now. Here's the one thing that changes everything. Speed is not a customer service virtue. Speed is a revenue architecture decision. The businesses that respond first do not just win the conversation, it wins the positioning. It becomes the standard every subsequent action gets measured against. When your system moves in the first 10 minutes and your competitor does not move for 3 hours, you are not just faster. You are categorically different in the mind of that lead. And category dominance is the only competition that actually matters. So let me put you on to a couple of secrets. Secret number one: stop thinking that a better ad will fix a slow follow-up. The ad that got them to raise their hand, that's all it did. What happens next is entirely a systems question. You can have the most compelling creative in your market and lose the conversation to a competitor with a mediocre and a 10-minute response system. The ad is the invitation. The intake system is the handshake. And nobody remembers a great invitation from a host who never came to the door. So secret number two: stop thinking that following up quickly means being pushy. This is the belief that keeps more business owners slow than almost any other. Urgency is not aggression. A fast, well-crafted response does not feel desperate to a lead who just asks for help. It feels competent. It feels trustworthy. It feels like you run a tight operation, which is exactly the signal that moves someone from considering you to choosing you. The pushy follow-up is the one that comes 4 days later because you finally remember to check your inbox. Secret number three: stop thinking that response time is an ops problem you will fix later. Later does not exist in a market that is moving this fast. Every day your intake window stays unprotected is another day of leads that come in ready, waited too long, felt invisible, and quietly chose someone else without ever telling you why. Your pipeline does not have a traffic problem. It has a first 10-minute problem. And that problem has a very specific, very buildable solution. Inside AI Money Maps, the first thing we fix is always the intake window because it's always bleeding. We build an automated response infrastructure that fires the moment a lead comes in. Not a generic confirmation email from your little software, not a clunky chatbot, but a behavior trigger sequence that is intelligent, personalized, and designed to move that lead toward a buying conversation before your competition even knows they exist. We wire your CRM, your messenger, your email, and your follow-up sequences into one connected intake system. that treats every lead like they are the most important person who walked through the door today. Because at that moment, they are. Then we build a full journey around it. The nurture sequence that keeps warm leads warm. The re-engagement flow that brings cold leads back. The onboarding protocols that make new clients feel like they made the smartest decision they have made all year. And the retention architecture that keeps your best clients close, ascending, and referring long after the intake window closed. This is not a patch on top of a broken system. This is a rebuild from the first touch point forward. Here's what I know is true about where you are right now. You have worked hard to get leads coming in. You have spent real money on ads, content, and visibility. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you always know that something is leaking between the ad click and the closed deal. You could not put your finger on exactly where, but now you can. It is the window. It is the 10-minute nobody engineered. It is the moment your lead was most ready and your system had nothing to say. That leak is not a flaw in your character. It's a gap in your architecture. And architecture has a fix. But the businesses that are fixing it right now are pulling ahead at a rate that makes waiting genuinely expensive. This is not urgency for the sake of a sales script. This is the reality of a market where the operators who built the intake infrastructure in 2026 and 2027 are going to be functionally untouchable by 2028. Two choices. You keep running the operation where the quality of your follow-up depends on whether you happen to check your phone in time and keep losing the leads that your budget paid to bring in. Or you build an intake system that works every time for every lead at every hour with the speed and intelligence that turns a raise the hand moment into a closed deal. One of those choices costs you money every single day it stays in place. The other one pays for itself the first week it runs. DM me the word money map right now. Let's build your intake system, close the 10-minute gap, and make sure the next lead that comes in never has a reason to look elsewhere. The agentic revolution does not wait for a slow follow-up. Step in.